Today what we want to do is just to review what do we multiply each equation by to get one of the variables to cancel out. We're going to show this multiplication and we're going to also show which variable is canceling out. And that's all we're going to do with these problems. Just what do we multiply by and then show the variable that cancels out. So let's look at problem number 1. And we can see that our top equation is 9x plus 5y equals 5. Our bottom equation is negative 10x plus y equals 1. So if I just want to multiply one of the equations by something, then if I look at the y's, I have a 5 and a 1. So in order to get them to cancel out, I would want the top equation to have the positive 5y and the bottom equation to have a negative 5y. So I'm going to choose to multiply the bottom equation by a negative 5. So let's rewrite our top equation, 9x plus 5y equals 5. And then if I multiply everything in the bottom equation by negative 5 times a negative 10x is a positive 50x. Negative 5 times y is negative 5y. And negative 5 times 1 is a negative 5. So now when I add straight down, I can see that my 5 minus 5 cancels out, my y's are gone. Now let's take a look at number 2. So 4 and 9 really don't have anything in common with the x's. But if I look at the y's, 7 can easily become 14. So if my bottom equation has a negative 14y, I want my top equation to have a positive 14y. So all I gotta do here is multiply my top equation by 2. And so we're gonna multiply 2 times negative 4x is negative 8x. 2 times 7y is a positive 14y. 2 times 1 is gonna give me a 2. My bottom equation is gonna stay the same, 9x minus 14y equals 3. And then I can show that when I add straight down, my y's are going to cancel out. Number 3. When I look at the x's, negative 8 and 2 can easily become an 8 by multiplying by 4. And since the signs are already different, I just have to multiply by a positive 4. I'm going to leave the top equation alone. Negative 8x plus 2y is equal to 12. And we're going to multiply everything in the bottom equation by 4. 4 times 2x is going to give me an 8x. 4 times 7 is a positive 28y is equal to 4 times 12 is 48. And so when I add straight down this time, the x's cancel out. Negative 8 plus 8 is gone. Looking at number 4, if again I look at the x's, 3 can easily become a 6. 5 and 8 don't have anything in common, so I'm going to use the 3 and the 6. But I do need the signs to be different. So since I have a positive 6 up top, I want the 3 to become a negative. So I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by a negative 2. Again, my top equation stays the same. 6x plus 5y is equal to 26. And in the bottom equation, I'm going to multiply everything by negative 2. Negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x. Negative 2 times negative 8y is a positive 16y. And negative 2 times negative 29 is a positive 58. And so I can show that when I add straight down, my x's are going to cancel out. For number 5, I can either choose the x's or the y's in this case. So if I choose to get rid of the x's, I would just have to multiply the bottom equation by 2. I can do the same thing for the y's, but I would multiply the bottom equation by negative 2 in order for the signs to be different. So since I think it's easier to multiply by a positive number, I'm going to multiply my bottom equation by 2 to get the x's to cancel. My top equation is going to stay the same. 4x plus 14y is equal to 26. And in my bottom equation, I need to multiply everything by 2. 2 times negative 2x is a negative 4x. 2 times 7y is a positive 14y. And 2 times 29 is 58. And so we can see that when we add straight down, the x's cancel out, in this case, not the y's. Let's do one more example where we only have to multiply one of the equations by a number before we get to the examples where we have to multiply both equations by something. For number 6, if I look at the x's, 3 can easily become 12, but 3 can't easily become 8. So let's use the x's. And if I want my signs to be different, then I have to multiply the bottom equation by a negative 4. My top equation is going to stay the same. 12x minus 3y equals negative 27. And in my bottom equation, negative 4 times 3x is a negative 12x. Negative 4 times 8y is a negative 32y. And negative 4 times 2 is a negative 8. And so I can see that if I were to add straight down, the x's are going to cancel and I could solve my equation. These first 6, I only had to multiply one of the equations by a number to get a variable to cancel out. But if I look at these bottom 4, now these ones, I have to multiply, or I should say bottom 6, both equations by something. So if you look at number 7, 3 can't become 5, and 5 can't become 6. So when I'm choosing which equations to multiply and get rid of the variable, if I can, I'm going to choose the different signs. Well, I could choose the x's or the y's. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and go with the smaller numbers, 3 and 5 versus 5 and 6. So if I want to get my x's to cancel out, then since the signs are already different, I'm just going to multiply my top equation by 5 and my bottom equation by 3. I'm just going to switch them. And so when I do that, I can multiply everything in my top equation by 5. 5 times 3x is going to give me 15x. 5 times 5y is 25y. And 5 times negative 15 is going to give me a negative 75. And the bottom equation, I'm going to multiply everything by 3. 3 times negative 5x is negative 15x. 3 times negative 6y is a negative 18y. And 3 times 11 is 33. And I can see that when I add straight down, the x's are going to cancel. Same thing for number 8. Now notice in number 8, the signs aren't different. And in this case, since my numbers are smaller with the y's, I'm going to choose to get rid of the y's. So that means I'm going to multiply my top equation by the 4. And the bottom equation, I have to multiply by a negative 6. So that I get a 24y and a negative 24y. So let's go ahead and do that. 4 times 6 is going to give me 24x. 4 times 6 again is going to give me a 24y. And 4 times 24 is going to give me 96. On the bottom, let's do the same thing. Let's multiply everything by negative 6. Negative 6 times 7x is a negative 42x. Negative 6 times 4y is a negative 24y. And negative 6 times negative 2 is a positive 12. And so I can see that when I add straight down, the y's are going to cancel. It doesn't matter which variable you get rid of. You can choose either one. If you choose to get rid of the x's, you find y first. If you choose to get rid of the y's, you find x first. Let's look at a couple more of these. Number 9, I would probably choose to get rid of the x's because they're smaller. And the signs are different. So if the signs are already different, then I can just switch them. Multiply the top equation by 2 and the bottom equation by 7. So when we do that, 2 times negative 7x is negative 14x. 2 times negative 10y is negative 20y. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. On the bottom, let's do the same thing but multiply by 7. 7 times 2x is 14x. 7 times negative 6y is a negative 42y. And 7 times 28 is going to give me 196. I can see that if I add straight down, my x's cancel. Hopefully, we're starting to get this pattern down. Number 10, I would choose the x's. 1, I've got a smaller number of 3 and 8, but notice the signs are different. If I choose the y's, then that means I'd have to multiply one of them by a negative. So let's go ahead and choose to get rid of the x's again. I'm going to multiply the top equation by 3 and the bottom equation by 8. So 3 times 8x is going to give me a 24x. 3 times negative 7y is negative 21y. 3 times negative 10, oops, sorry about that, is a negative 30. On the bottom, 8 times negative 3x is negative 24x. 8 times negative 9y is negative 72y. And 8 times 27 is going to give me 216. And then I can show that when I add straight down, my x's would cancel. 2 last ones here, 11 and 12. For number 11, let's go ahead and choose to get rid of the y's. You can choose either one, but since the y has a smaller number, let's go ahead and do that. Again, the signs are already different, so that means I can multiply my top equation by 7 and my bottom equation by 3 to give me a positive 21y and a negative 21y. So now we can go ahead and distribute our 7 to the top. 7 times 5x is 35x. 7 times 3y is 21y. And then 7 times 23 is going to give me 161. On the bottom, we're going to do that same thing. We're going to multiply the 3 with all 3. So I'm going to have a negative 21x minus 21y is equal to negative 63. And I can see that when I add straight down, the y's are going to cancel. One last one. And that is to get rid of either the x's or the y's. Let's get rid of the x's since 5 is easier to work with than the 7. And again, the signs are different. So that means that I can just multiply my top equation by 9 and my bottom equation by 5. If you were to choose to get rid of the y's, then you would multiply the top equation by 9 and the bottom equation by 7. So now my top equation, I'm going to multiply 9 times negative 5x is negative 45x. 9 times negative 7y is negative 63y. And 9 times 13 is going to give me 117. On the bottom, 5 times 9x is 45x. 5 times 9y is another 45, so plus 45y is, hey, look at that, another 9. 5 times negative 9 is negative 45. And if I add straight down, my x's cancel. As you guys go to tonight's homework, the first problems you're going to do just like this, where you're just going to show what you're going to multiply by and do your multiplication. So you're going to do that for the first 8. And then the bottom 4 for 9, 10, 11, and 12, you're going to multiply and then actually find your answers.